Networking and marketing made simple is for you, the business owner that has a product, service, or message that you truly believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind the scenes look at real world networking and marketing tactics while leveraging LinkedIn to get what you have in front of many more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and let's get started. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Networking and Marketing Made Simple. Super excited for today's episode for a number of reasons. Number one, it's another interview episode, and I know with all the feedback that I've been consistently getting from all of you guys that you really appreciate these interviews just because it takes the spotlight off of me, puts it on someone else that you may not have heard of, but obviously now you will because they're on this show. And number two, the guest that I have for you guys today really helps people work smarter and not harder. And, something that, you guys know, my wife Nancy and I constantly speak about is that notion of working smarter, not harder, outsourcing those things that you don't want to do. So we're going to talk about a lot of those things because the company that this person owns, Zabota.io, is all about helping people in that respect. So we're going to talk about exactly what it is. So Ben Moróne, welcome to today's episode.
Scott, thank you so much for having me on your show.
Absolutely. So before we get into obviously your company and everything that you're doing, if you could rewind the tape on your business journey and press stop at a moment that you feel was your jumping off moment or your catalytic moment that kind of set you on this path of everything that you're doing today moving forward. What was that moment for you?
For this business, I would say it was some international travel. In the summer of 2022, I decided to travel with one of my bosses for a previous company I was working for as like a sales rep. We decided to go to Hungary. We were in Portugal, Bulgaria, Romania, kind of just traveling around. It was actually after I graduated from university. At that point, I realized that I needed to have some sort of my own business. I enjoyed the sales aspect. I enjoyed working at that company. But of the people I met, many of them were very interesting expat entrepreneurs. And I thought, okay, you're from Arizona. What are you doing here in Sofia, Bulgaria? You're from Texas. What are you doing here in Budapest? And so I thought the way these people have their freedom to be able to travel like that, they have their own ventures. And it doesn't need to be a Microsoft for you to be able to go live in a country that you'd want to go live in, right? And so after kind of meeting some of these people, reflecting on how did they get to where they were, I understood that I needed to build my own venture.
It's when you experience certain things in life and in business, it kind of opens up new pathways of opportunities and potential. So I totally resonate with that. For me, I was running multiple brick and mortar businesses, and that was from 1998 to 2016. But in 2013, I ventured into the online space, and the concept of making money online where you didn't have to trade time for dollars and you can create this
Yes.
life of flexibility and freedom, once that lid is off, I mean, it's game over. So if looking back at your, business career prior to launching your company, obviously your old boss played a pivotal role in, again, opening that door of opportunity for other things that you're doing now. Obviously, mentoring with him, staying close by his side. As far as things that he dripped on you about or lessons that he taught you or things that you were then able to learn and then take into everything that you're doing now, what would you say was the most impactful thing that you learned from him?
Christian, so he's a good friend of mine. I actually saw him in Romania a couple weeks ago. He's a risk taker for sure, and he genuinely wants to help people succeed. And so he's in sales. He believes in the products that he sells, and he believes that he's making a positive impact. And so he's willing to take risks, and he takes risks to help people. And so I think kind of that framework and that like mental model almost and that mindset that translated into a lot of the things that I do in my ventures. And so I would say that's probably some of the most impact that he's had.
So how did the concept of Zabota actually come about? Because obviously,
Mhm.
like you, I have a sales background. I've been in sales for over 25 years, and it's the highest paid profession in the world. But obviously, I'm not doing sales for a company. You know, my wife and I own our own company, and I kind of arm the sales side of things and making connections. W with your sales background and obviously your people skills and everything that you learned working for someone else, how did the whole concept of Zabota actually come about?
Yeah, so previously I had a couple different sales roles. I had a tech sales role for a company that was basically like a little Chrome extension and then cloud software for automating LinkedIn. This was like in 2019, 2020. And so that's where I got really, I would say, heavier into LinkedIn and the tech sales side. I was allowed to have a virtual assistant there. I was looking for more ways to kind of save on some time. I was full time in university at that point. So I was working a commission only sales role, and then I was also taking all of my classes. And so I was kind of like living two lives and kind of juggling a bunch of different things. And so I needed someone to help me out on the professional side of activities so I could focus on some of the school things and just get the work done and be able to graduate. And so I was able to use a virtual assistant. I originally had staff from the Philippines. I found them online. I think it was like Fiverr or Upwork. And I realized, wow, this person's getting me back several hours per day, just small like follow-ups via email, maybe some calls, like those types of basic tasks. And then when I transitioned to a different company, I wasn't allowed to have a virtual assistant due to the financial industry we were working in and some of the restrictions. And so I noticed, and this was still when I was in university, so I noticed definitely a drop off in productivity where it was like, okay, the stress is back on and I had to make a lot more dials in this second role for sure. And so I kind of missed having a virtual assistant who could assist me and do some of the work around the follow-ups to get me back some time. And so I thought, in my sales journey, this has been very impactful, hiring an assistant. And after I was done traveling, I came back to Billings, Montana, which is where I'm originally from. And I had a lot of like local business connections because I lived there the majority of my life. And I thought, okay, in Billings, how can I help people grow their businesses? Maybe they're not as online as some of the different hubs around the globe or in the US. So how can I bring something from Minnesota, where I went to school, or from these worldly aspects back into this kind of rural market and this small business market where the primary service providers are like service-based businesses, home-based businesses, those or healthcare, those types of businesses. And it was virtual assistants. And so that was kind of the solution for that market. And I understood that I'd be staying in the States, I'd be staying in Billings for quite some time until I could kind of get the initial start to a business. And so that's kind of how Zabota was born.
Yeah, for myself and my wife, we did and still do time to time rely on Fiverr and Upwork for certain things.
Mhm.
And like you, we had VAs from the Philippines, we had VAs from South America, we had VAs in Europe, and obviously it's grown to the point now where we have a lot of stateside, contractors working with us directly now. But I do believe if you're going to run a profitable business, you need to have some help by your side in order to do that. Because to your point, I think in any business owner's journey, whether you're a solopreneur, whether you're a small business, whatever the case may be, an agency, in the very beginning, because my wife and I, we do have an agency, we have multiple facets to our
Yes.
company. You have to get your hands dirty in the beginning. You should have your toes in the sand. You should be boots on the ground, learning certain things. And reason being, there are going to be some things that you learn how to do that not necessarily you have to master, but become so much of an annoyance that you need to push them to someone else because there are people out there that enjoy those types of things. Like My wife still thinks it's crazy. Whenever we do our workshops, I love scheduling emails. I love writing
Mhm.
email copy. I love setting up the broadcasts because I like KPIs. I like seeing the registrations to our workshops grow
Yeah.
every email broadcast I send out. In the same breath, if we're on vacation, I already have the templates in there where someone from our team can jump in and they can do the same type of thing. So what's I would say what's your big message to the person that's listening to this that may be that small startup agency or that solopreneur that I don't want to say is at their breaking point, but they definitely are doing too many things in their business that's keeping them held back from growing, scaling, and becoming more profitable. What's your message to that person and what can they do to change that?
Yeah. So what I would say to that individual who just feels kind of stuck, they're doing a bunch of different things, maybe there's too much on their plate, struggling to grow their business, is before you think about hiring, do some sort of a time audit. So you don't want to just feel overwhelmed, then go grab some resumes, go find some candidates on LinkedIn, Fiverr, Upwork, and then just instantly hire, because that's not a very methodical process. And you're bringing someone into a fire of chaos. You want to first do a time audit. Basically, what that is over a period of minimum 3 days, you're writing down everything you're doing in a 15 to 30-minute period throughout the day. And so it allows you to get very granular on what am I actually spending my time on? Because what I've found working with multiple clients and working even inside of my own business is there's tasks that we think are taking 4 hours, but it's just because we hate them. We don't like doing them. So it's very, very like taxing. And so you may find in your day that there's a lot of tasks you don't like doing. They're not filling up your cup of energy. And those are great tasks to either eliminate if it's not actually necessary for the business to grow, or delegate to someone. So before you think about hiring, you need to do some sort of time audit where you can analyze what tasks are tasks you don't like, tasks that should be eliminated, tasks that should be delegated, and ultimately founder level tasks that you should just focus on. That's what I would say to that individual who's overwhelmed.
So obviously that there's a lot of companies and stuff out there that I don't want to say do exactly what you guys do. But if you had to really help people understand that are listening to this or watching this, what really makes Zabota different from other companies
Mhm.
or other things that are out there just like it? What would you say are the core differentiating things that really make
Mhm.
it stand out from the competition?
Yeah, of course. So part of it is I'm located here in Eastern Europe. I'm in Warsaw, Poland. I've lived here for about a year and a half. That's how long I've owned this company. That allows me to have a lot more of a local brand and local presence with candidates. I'm able to actually physically meet with some candidates for some of the roles. We've done in-person roles here. We've done different remote roles where I've actually met the candidates in person. Um, and that kind of local brand presence really allows for us to get some of the best candidates. So us actually being here, people have trust when they see something online that says work online, remote, earn X amount of dollars. There's a lot of scams that are associated with that. And so the areas we're hiring from, these individuals already kind of have their guard up. And so by us being physically here located in Eastern Europe, we're able to lower those barriers and get some of the best candidates who, for other agencies, they might be on the fence because they just don't know if this is a real opportunity. And these are individuals' lives we're impacting over here in Eastern Europe. And so we need to make sure that we're acting with integrity and presenting them real opportunities. We don't want to present ourselves in a way that's not appropriate.
Outside of, running a new business that's, a year and a half old, what's been the biggest adjustment for you going from quote unquote God's country of Montana, which I've
Yeah.
I've been out there, it's
Yeah.
beautiful, to Eastern Europe? What's been the biggest
Mhm.
personal adjustment for you?
Uh, I would say obviously I miss family and some of my friends, but I really have realized how blessed I've been to be born in America and live in the States. There's a lot of opportunity there for sure. And hiring from different locations, you can see there's a lot of bureaucracy. There's a lot of like just red tape and kind of headache left over from different governments being in control here. And so it's something where I'm very grateful to have been living in the States and being from the States. I definitely miss the States. I miss my family, those types of things, but I go back a couple of times a year and see them. One of the other personal things is probably the sleep schedule and some of the fitness for sure. The fitness is a plus. The food just seems, a lot healthier. I can eat a lot of it here, and I don't feel like bloated or I don't feel kind of like puffy, and I feel very, very like clean, and my fitness is pretty regulated. With the sleep schedule, if I have clients who are in California or they're in Mount Standard Time, like my clients back in Billings, it can get a little bit hectic with it. That's an 8, 9 hour time difference. And so I try to limit how late I'm taking calls for that, especially like sales calls, client calls, those types of things. And so it's kind of enabled me to almost like work 24/7, which when you're building a business, that's awesome when you're in those first like few steps, but it's also you're on 24/7. I mean, I have multiple time zones I can reach into. We can always be sourcing candidates here, and we can always be talking to clients back in the States when they wake up 6 hours later. So it's like it can be overwhelming, but I have a good team. So
Now, what was the decision behind Eastern Europe compared to, other places around the world, whether it be Canada or, there's a lot of people now that are moving to Mexico and other places. So what was the draw to Eastern Europe for you?
part of it's the sourcing. So kind of like what I mentioned when we have unique selling point of me physically being located here with local brand. That was a massive part of it. Also, cost of living is significantly lower than the States for sure. I like to be able to travel, so more lifestyle choices. I like to be able to spend 200, $250 and go to Budapest for the weekend, go to Romania, go to Italy. Like I can bounce around Europe on a pretty good budget and visit a lot more new countries. There's an episode of your podcast where you and Nancy are talking about like the flexibility and freedom and setting up like your life how you want to. And so I think a lot of us when we're building our businesses or going into different careers, we're thinking about the business or the career. We're not thinking about what's the end goal for what is our lifestyle going to look like. You need to think about your lifestyle first and what you like truly want. Have a conversation with yourself. I wanted freedom. I wanted to be able to travel. I wanted kind of a time difference so I could like put all my energy behind this business and make sure that it worked. And so it made sense for me to go forward in the time zones and live in Europe where I can bounce around and travel and enjoy the lifestyle and the cost of living instead of maybe building a more traditional business or staying in the States. So it was just more built around the lifestyle that I wanted to have.
So from a personal growth standpoint, what's been the biggest change for you that you've noticed in yourself in the last 18 months since really making the full 100% switch to
Mhm.
not only living abroad, but,
Mhm.
owning your company abroad, traveling, and, being a significant time zone difference, hours,
Mhm.
miles away from back home?
Uh, nobody's coming to save you. You really have to pull your own weight. I'm over here, a day's worth of flights away from my family and friends. So if something goes wrong, I have to be the one who takes responsibility. And sometimes in a business, it can be lonely. I don't have a co-founder, right? But some of the people I bring into my business are very supportive and they're very skilled at what they do. I think that it's been a very like independent journey, which has been great. So it's a good thing to go travel and kind of hole yourself up in a in a foreign country for a little bit if you want some more independence, if you kind of want to figure out what's next for you. I think it's a great idea, and it's partly the reason I stayed here. I kind of like the isolation, even though I miss the States, I miss my family, those types of things. There's a lot of quiet time to think in the morning, especially before clients wake up, because I'm serving mainly Canada, US, UK a little bit, and Dubai a little bit, but usually the majority of my clients are 6, 7 hours behind me. And so in the morning, I have the ability to kind of almost turn off your brain and not have to just be instantly looking at your phone the second you wake up to respond to a client email.
Totally get that. And so, we always talk about thinking about what lies ahead for us. So for
Mhm.
you and Zabota and everything that you're working on, where do you see yourself in the company going in the next 3 to 5 years?
So right now we're working on a little bit of a SaaS platform, different tools that we've utilized internally. And so I have a fair amount of clients that like the tools that we're using internally. And so I'm thinking about releasing them to the public and kind of building that section of the company, or maybe even a completely different company, because they're based on recruiting tools. And so that's definitely kind of the next steps with Zabota. With Zabota right now, we have good acquisition. We have very high success for our clients. And so it's slowly growing. It is almost every time we get a new client, we get, two, three more based off of referral. And so that's a really good sign for a small company for sure. And so it's just snowballing now. And I think, I'm really excited to see what happens the next year and a half, 2 years, especially with Zabota and then also the recruiting tools that we'll release.
Love that. So for the people that are listening to this, obviously there's a lot of coaches, consultants,
Mhm.
agencies, service providers. If you could put your thumb on the individual or the company or the type of individual that would be best suited for Zabota and everything that you guys do, who do you guys best serve? And more importantly, if they are interested in learning more, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'd say who we best serve are people who are seeing those beginning kind of signs of success. Maybe they're past a 25K, 30K a month mark recurring. They're wanting to build. Maybe they have some contractors or freelancers they've used in the past. What I've noticed is that's really our sweet spot with some of our clients, because they'll come back and make three, four different hires from us. And suddenly in a year, they have a team of five, six people completely running their agency for them. They're allowed to just not work 24/7 and still be involved in growing their company, but just focus on founder level stuff. And so that kind of ICP, that type of individual, we do very, very well with. And then some of our larger corporate clients as well, either executive assistants for a team of executives, or key roles like a project manager, IT data analyst for some of the larger clients. So larger clients, sometimes they're just looking to save some money or fill a key role with super specific criteria. We do well in that aspect. But with these smaller agencies, maybe coaches, consultants, these people who've already seen some success in their business, those are some of the most favorite clients to work with, because we just see that long-term growth for them and their agencies. To find us, Zabota.io is our website. We're also very active on YouTube, so Zabota Staffing. And then Twitter is probably the best way to reach me personally, and that's Benjamin Moróne. Last name's Morone.
Awesome. Well, all that information obviously would be in the show notes. It'll be on the YouTube channel. It'll be in the email broadcast that goes out to the list, so you guys aren't going to have to look too far to find it. So, Ben, final question before we sign off today. What does success truly mean to you?
That's a really good question, and I've been asked it before, and I don't really remember what I had said the last time. But I had a chance to meet the founder of Best Buy, Dick Schulze. He's a billionaire. He's really someone I look up to. I've met him a couple times, and he had told me when we were at this entrepreneurship conference, "You're here because you want to control your own destiny." And so I think that success is being able to control your own destiny. And it's not always through entrepreneurship, right? It may be through service and healthcare or different industries. But controlling your own destiny is what success is to me.
I love that. And I think that's the beautiful thing about life is we can make new decisions each day that create different outcomes. And I think you're a prime example of that. I think there's a lot of people that are listening to this or watching this and like, man, this guy moved from Montana all the way to Eastern Europe. And again, everything is possible if you believe it is. And that's the big thing. You know, Nancy and I wanted to create a life where we were living more and working less. And that's why, our Feel Good Business Model book is based on this 3-day work week that we've
Yeah.
created for ourselves. And it took time to get there. This has been a 7-year process, but It's
Yeah.
been wildly enjoyable, and we can't wait for the next 7 years of what's going to unfold. So, Ben, just appreciate you very much, and just want to wish you continued success, and just appreciate everything that you're doing for obviously entrepreneurs and business owners out there. Obviously, it's people like you and companies like yours that really make everyone's life easier, being able to staff and outsource and do all those things. So, number one, thank you again for being here. And number two, much continued success, and just appreciate all your insights today.
Hey, Scott, thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. It was a good conversation.
Absolutely. So, as always, please leave us a rating and review. Let us know what you loved most about the episode. Reply to the email that you got, or just head over to iTunes or Spotify, subscribe, leave that rating and review, and let us know what you would like to hear more of. And again, all the information of how to connect with Ben will be in the show notes, on the YouTube channel, and in the email broadcast. So, everyone, please enjoy the rest of your days. Love and gratitude, and I'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much for checking out today's episode. If you could, please support this podcast by hopping over to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or any place that you're listening to this. Leave us a rating and review. Let us know what you loved most and what you would like to hear more of. But also, if you would like to learn how to take your business to the next level, whether it's using LinkedIn or working directly with myself and Nancy in our intimate group coaching programs, you can head over to www.thetimetogrow.com or scottaaron.net to learn more. Thank you again for your support, love, and gratitude, and I'll talk to you soon.